Okay, alright.
Hello and welcome back to the Make Lemonade podcast, a show brought to you by Lemon Squeezies. We hope to inspire you to make money from your own lemonade stand. I'm one of your co-hosts, James, and JR is back with me again this week to speak with our special guest and Lemon Squeezy customer, Tibo Louis-Lucas. Tibo is most well known for starting Tweet Hunter and Taplio in 2021 before selling it in 2022 to Lempire. Since then, Tibo has gone on to acquire an AI video creation tool, Typeframes, which he then spun into Revid.ai. He's also recently acquired Feather.so, and some big news came out just yesterday, which we'll discuss later on in the episode. Tibo, welcome to the Lemon Squeezy Make Lemonade podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, I guess, given the news from this week.
Yeah,
we can talk about that.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna leave that to the end because I want to sort of build up to the news that the business that Tibo acquired for $250,000 might have gone to zero with Notion's new announcement. So stick around to the end where we will talk about that. But Tibo, I want to know, since we last spoke, you've left Tweet Hunter, your baby, and Lempire. You're an indie founder again. What's it been like the last few months?
To be honest, it's been amazing. Like it's been amazing to have all this free time that I can just I can manage my time now. Like I can decently work on new projects. I can think about the future. I feel free. I feel free. It's amazing.
It's good. JL, did you feel any of that when you eventually left your acquirer after Mojo? Yeah,
it's a real thing. I mean, you do feel. I think it ebbs and flows. You get to a point where you're building their baby. It's stressful. There's pros and cons. You're in control, but you're super stressed. Then you sell it and you come into money. And there's a little bit of relief. And you're like, oh, okay, I can breathe for a second. And then that starts to get a little stale. And then you're excited to go do the next thing. And so I think that's probably how Tibo's feeling.
What's been super weird is that I am, since I am a Tweet Hunter and Taplio user, I still use them every single day. And so there are so many moments where I see a bug and I'm like, okay, let's just fix it. And then I remember that I'm not allowed to, and if I do so, I'm going to go to jail because I just can't touch the code anymore.
That is a true. I didn't even think about that. So you're using the product that you founded, sold, but now have left, and you can't do anything with it. That must be a really, really bizarre feeling. JR, did you ever have any of those feelings with Mojo? Or were you done at that point because it was a little bit longer?
Yeah, I was done at that point. But
so Tibo, background, you've spoken about this a lot, but a theme that seems to come up really often when we're talking to successful founders is they go through failure. And often people just have to go through these motions of failure. They have to figure out what they don't like and take lessons and learnings from their past. I wonder if you can think of any of the failures in your past that you've taken learnings from, or any learnings from your past that has led you to where you are now.
Well, there are so many things. To be honest, before getting some success with Tweet Hunter and Taplio, I had run 2 startups. Each one took me 2 years of work, and both failed in their own ways. And the main thing here, the main issue is that I had to work on them during 2 years to realize that they were just not going to work out. And by the way, that's what we did differently with Tweet Hunter, is that we try to compress these 2 years into 1 to 2 weeks before realizing if a project is something that people want or not.
So Tibo, compressing 2 years into 1 week with your new 1 project per week sounds absolutely insane. Did you not think you might want to compress those 2 years into maybe a month per project? Why a week per project?
I have no idea where the week comes from, but the thing is, we kind of did it, and so if we did it, it's definitely doable. It's insane the number of things that you can do differently. First of all, if you look at Tweet Hunter right now, you cannot think of how it was at the very beginning, and how it was actually at the very, very beginning is just one input field, like one search field. you input what you are looking for, and it was just displaying a wall of tweets. That's the product. That was just the product, like a wall of viral tweets that was looking like what you are usually talking about. That's all I needed to get inspiration to write viral tweets, and it took off, like just that. And most of the 10 products that we built was just one useful feature, and it worked out.
And there was one particular growth moment in Tweet Hunter's history where you went from 3 to 20k MRR. JR, I'm going to test you. Do you know what this moment was that sparked their growth?
Tweet Hunter? I don't actually, but was that 1 month? You jumped from 3 to 20k?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
Okay, let me give you some options. It was a viral tweet that caused that to happen. It was someone big in the media picked up Tweet Hunter, and there was a big media campaign, or that they partnered with an influencer, I guess. Which one of those 3 options do you think it might be, JR?
The viral tweet?
Oh, I love that. I mean, that was kind of a trick question, wasn't it, Tibo? It was partnering with JK Molina on Twitter and combining with the launch. Is that kind of right, Tibo?
Yeah, it is. And to be honest, I don't understand why people are not doing that much more. You have some very big names that are doing this, like Mr. Beast with the chocolate. He did it with the burgers too. It's hard. It can go wrong. Like I don't know if you know, but like there is a drama around the quality of his partnership with the burger thing. But if you find a good, reliable partner, it can go super well. And in our case, it was not our idea, but this guy, JK Molina, came to us, and it was a perfect match for Tweet Hunter. Like perfect. And he works on this launch, and it did. Like he made us jump from 3k in monthly revenue to 20k in just 2 to 3 weeks, just with this launch. And what's crazier is that because it was so successful, this launch, we thought that we would have like massive churn after the launch, and at best the growth would stop. And it didn't happen like at all. Like we continue growing 20% month over month, thanks to the product improvements and him running campaigns after campaigns on Twitter and emails.
You touched on like why people might not do it as often. You've seen this with Hunter Hammers as well, with all of the productized services he's launched, partnering with these influencers. But it's hard to find someone that is really well matched with your product. Because you tried it with Revid, right?
Exactly.
Or Typeframes.
I did it with Taplio first. It worked out. It didn't work as much as we hoped, like because the very big guy said no to us, and then like much later on they regretted this like so much. Like they wanted to do it, but it was too late. But we still did it with someone like Alex Berman. But you're 100% right. Like I tried to do it again with Revid.ai, and I thought that it would be like much easier thanks to my track record. But it's like on TikTok and YouTube, nobody knows me. So I think I have some audience on Twitter, but it's just on Twitter. Like nobody knows me outside that.
That's what I was going to ask. I think that's the answer, is why don't people do it? I think it sounds great, and it does do a lot. But yeah, you have to either know someone to get connected to that person that you need. You need to have a really good offer, a really good, economic in their favor, right? Which is tough sometimes. But in that case with Tweet Hunter, did you know him, or was it just your Twitter following that made it a little easier, do you think? How did you get that?
So I knew him because I was following him, and I was the guy reaching out to him. And he answered by saying, I want to be in the project. And so like it was like everything aligned perfectly from the very start.
JR, if you were to partner with an influencer for Lemon Squeezy, who would it be?
Oh, I would look. So this is a hard question because I would look at it a little differently. I would look at it where the intersection is of when I think someone might be. Well, let me say it differently. People looking for a payment solution like Lemon Squeezy. Tibo's pointing to himself. people looking for a solution. You have the people that are just kind of getting started with projects. So you have kind of they're kicking off, they're starting a project. So the indie hacker, the creator space, finding someone with influence around there. But then that's a very long tail play, because it can take a while for that merchant to kind of grow, right? Or they might not work, right? So it's good, but we have to wait and see who's going to play out. You could go the other route where someone has influence over more established SaaS companies or creators, right, that are looking for, how do I continue to scale globally? So like now you're getting into someone that's speaking to maybe a different, smaller subset of groups, but the ROI for us might be a little better because you're bringing on someone with established volume. So for Lemon Squeezy, it's a little bit different. You know what I mean?
I love how you answered that. Tibo, you got thoughts?
Yeah, I was about to drop a name. Like in my mind, the king of indie makers, the king of makers is still Peter Levels. I love how much he shaped and how I disagree with a lot of things that he's saying, but I love that he's very opinionated, and I love the authority that he built given all the project that he launched.
Peter's interesting, Tibo, because we do follow each other, and what's happened over the years is, and maybe this is just by sheer like executing and just trying to create something unique, is Peter has gone out there and organically done that, where he's tweeted and said, I fucking love Lemon Squeezy, like just out of nowhere. And I almost feel like that comes with even more weight because it wasn't paid for and it wasn't promoted. It was just Peter saying it, and it's like the best form of marketing. But how do you get there? How do you do that? Like, you have to create a world-class product. You have to have a good brand. You have to have, you know what I mean? So that takes time, but you're right. I do think you're right, Tibo. Peter is probably the best when it comes to that.
Did you see a spike in revenue? And it's different for you because I guess you'll see a spike in sign-ups rather than revenue, because it takes time for someone to set up a store and then start making revenue from it.
Yeah, we saw a spike in sign-ups from Peter's tweeting, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I love what you were saying, and it reminds me that I love working on products where I know that if I build a good product, people will talk about that. And that was really the case for Tweet Hunter and Taplio. Since our users are influencers, you can just focus on the products, forget a little bit more about distribution, and if you do a good job, people will just talk about the products. And for me, like, given I love to build, it's perfect. I just can focus on building.
And I think with that being said, I think you have to be ready for the opportunity when it comes up. One of the things that we did early on with Lemon Squeezy was we invested early on with like migration tools, one-click like migration tools from Stripe and Paddle and Gumroad. So you kind of have to say, I'm going to just put my head down and work. But if that opportunity comes up, what do I need to have in place to make sure I can capture the demand, capture the opportunity? So you have to think a little bit about your business and what it is that you need to have ready in case that moment comes.
So Tibo, when it came to your acquisition, when you went through the process of thinking might be the time to sell it, JR, did you know that Tibo went through brokers instead of going straight into... Yeah.
Oh, I didn't, Tibo.
Yeah.
But I would love to hear how that was for you. Did you? And I actually think, do you regret anything around Tweet Hunter selling it at all?
It's very hard to answer. So the story is that we built Tweet Hunter with the idea of selling about a year later. Like the plan was like grow to 10K monthly revenue, sell for 1 million, and instantly go back building, build something else, and repeat. Yeah. It didn't go that way because it grew much faster, and everyone around us was telling us, don't sell too soon because you're going to miss out on a lot of money. Then we hired this broker, like American guy, very well connected. We spoke with the big guy like HubSpot, and everyone were asking us to stay 2 years in business, and that was totally unexpected. Like these 2 years are now period. And at the same time, I I had a few lunches with my middle school mate, like Guillaume Moubeche from Lempire, and he said that he was interested. And so I was finding the idea of working 2 years with someone the same age as me, same culture, same language, 50% team, much cooler than working with HubSpot, like 50K person company. And so just in 2 weeks on WhatsApp, we found a deal and it happened. And to the question of if I regret anything, it's super hard to say, because like a year later, Elon Musk made the leap in the API price, like from 0 to 42K per month. So, and almost killed us at the time. And so at that time, I was so happy that I sold. So it was like back and forth during 2 years of being happy that I sold to just looking at the revenue and looking at what I'm missing out if I had stayed a little bit longer, you know. I guess it's the same for pretty much everyone.
Yeah, I have like similar thoughts about mine too. And yeah, like you said, I think everyone kind of goes through it. And I think no matter what, it's one of those things in life where you can always play the what if game, right? And so you kind of just have to be like, this is the information I had at the time. This is what made sense at the time. This is how I was feeling at the time. And so you just kind of have to be at peace with that and be happy with what you have, you know?
Did you ever regret about selling in your case?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my previous company was in the WordPress space. Today WordPress is looked at as like, oh yeah, it's WordPress. But back in the day when I was getting involved in WordPress, it was nothing. It was hardly anything. And now it's half the internet. And so when I sold, I sold right at the beginning of it starting to take off. And if I would have hung on, I'm curious to see what would have happened. You know, so that's like my only regret. But again, now you're playing the what if game. What if it didn't do that? What if WordPress just got hacked and no one used it anymore and all the hosting companies stopped pushing it, right? So you never know. Tibo, here's like how I think about acquisitions moving forward is like, for example, and this is leading into a question to you about, you've done Tweet Hunter, you've done a lot of stuff. In fact, one of my favorite things that you said so far that I think has maybe hopefully changed your perspective, because this happened to me with Lemon Squeezy, is, oh, we're going to build this thing, it's going to get 10 million and we're going to sell it to 1 million. But it's like that whole quote of like, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face, right? Like something's going to change. Like when we started Lemon Squeezy, we had this whole idea of make lemonade and all these portfolio of SaaS companies. We're all going to... Lemon Squeezy just went like this. And it was like, okay, everybody go to Lemon Squeezy, right? So our whole plan just got blown up instantly. I also think that after selling, I have designed my company now very differently about what I want, what's important to me, how we work as a team, what we're willing to give up on in return for the X, Y, Z, right? That could be, we don't want to take investors' money because we want to stay in control, even though it's going to cause some problems, you know, that we have to deal with. We're willing to put up with those issues to not have to deal with investors and VC money. So, I mean, and also too, when it comes to if we were to get acquired, if we were going to take money, like there is definitely like things I need to make sure are in place before we do any of those things. Does that make sense? So I feel like my question to you is, now that you've built so many things, and now that you've gone through acquisitions, when you're building, your new, I don't actually know, do you have like a holding company for everything, or do you just have, these projects that sit, or does Tibo have something he's trying to do with this new wave of creations?
I do have this holding company. It's holding all my projects. But there is something that's like drastically changed in my mind is, except if something very strange comes up, I will never sell any other projects. And the main reason why is I've found it so unhealthy to receive millions on your bank accounts at just one specific point in time. It sounds super weird to complain about that, but I found it's much better to get an increasing flow of incomes, growing and growing, compared to receiving this bunch of money at once. Because right now, I'm back to zero regarding my monthly income. Like I'm pretty much not getting any revenue every month. So what do I do? Like, do I use the acquisition money to live month over month? How do I decide how much money I'm going to use every month? How I decide if something is crazy or reasonable? How do I decide what house I'm going to buy? Like all these questions, there is absolutely no specific answer, like no absolute answer to give. And I thought I would be more mind free about everything, and it's the complete opposites. It's just so much preoccupation, so much things to think about. And so, to be honest, like this acquisition money, it's still on my bank account. I haven't touched it. I don't know what to do with that. It just invested in a safe way, and that's it.
Everything Tibo's talking about is true. I mean, I also wonder too, Tibo, if it's easier for us to say because we do have that. You have the, whether it's there or not, you have that money in your account, and so now that you have that, now I know that feeling where it's like, I have this now. Now I want to create something that keeps my cash flow going because I have my nest egg that I can invest safely, make 5 to 10% on it in the stock or real estate or wherever you're going to put it. But, is that easy for us to say because we have that now and then now we can go create these things, right? So everyone kind of has their perspective. But one of the things that you said that's interesting is your first thing was with Tweet Hunter was, let's build this. Let's get it 10K and sell it. And now you're like, I'm going to build something. I'm never selling it again. Right. So it is interesting as we go through our entrepreneur careers and we have our wins, how the mind shift changes. And I think that's like something that's really been a thing for me, Gilbert Norman, for Lemon Squeezy, is we had times where we were offered term sheets for VC companies and we always would have to sit down and be like, okay, what do we want out of this thing ultimately? And it's just like a big mental warfare almost. Like the stress we put on ourselves and then putting ourselves in those situations and those decisions is so difficult sometimes to figure out what the hell do I want when this is all said and done. And it sounds like, Tibo, you have so much more clarity now of what it is that Tibo wants. And I think that's like a really, really good thing to hear you speak so clearly about what it is that you want,
Yeah, I think there's something that I did underestimate is how much a working tool is actually a super powerful tool to continue to innovate and to go into another thing. If you sell your project, you get a bunch of money at once, and it is very hard as an individual to just know who you are. Like one thing that I did experience is as I was successful, how can I continue to ship new things given that they can be failures? I identify as someone successful. It's so paralyzing as a feeling to ship new things because it can change the entire narrative about yourself. And so you have to just go through like accepting this new vulnerability and keep shipping. And it takes some time.
It does. And I think that's another thing. That's another good point is catching lightning in a bottle, which in my opinion is Tweet Hunter or, Lemon Squeezy or something that had their moment and they took off. That is really fucking hard to create. Like that's, and you probably, that's what you're saying about the failures is like, I have 10, 20 other things that I tried to do that didn't do what this is doing. Right. And so to you, it's like the psyche that does, it really messes with you, especially when we've had prior success. So we just expect this to work because we did it before, and that's not always the way that it works. I think it's really hard to start something and make it successful.
And you realize that there is a decent portion of luck in this process.
Yes, exactly.
And so like the 10 project that we built until Tweet Hunter could have been 20 or 50 before we would find any success. Just because like we got lucky. I remember very specifically, like I remember that one specific conversation with someone led me to create Tweet Hunter. And if I didn't have this one, I could have like had completely different last 3 years.
James, this is what I was talking about last episode where I remember everything really well about everything.
Yeah.
So when I go to build Lemon Squeezy, I feel like I'm drawing from all these past failures, these past experiences, learning people, and then it's just cultivated into this bigger thing. So I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of pull throughs for both Tibo and I think no matter what level it is, no matter how much money you made in the acquisition or whatnot, it's all the same feelings. It's all the same stuff.
I was just wondering about this like paralysis feeling. Like, is it after you sell your first startup? Is it something that you ever experienced, like total paralysis about creating new things?
Yeah, I think so. I think that. Let me answer it like this. I'm at a moment right now where, like, if I think about creating something today, I'm actually a little nervous because it's a time where we've all kind of been working on the internet that's a little different than I think has ever been with the AI stuff. There's a lot of things changing so fast that I'm worried that if you go out there too quick, like, how obsolete does that product become so fast because of what's happening? I mean, this is probably a good segue into what Toby's doing right now, where he's just spent $250,000 on a product with Notion, and they have created something that is competing. And that's not the same thing with what I'm saying. All I'm trying to say is the paralysis I have is I am scared to do something because of what AI is creating in the world. And I'm almost wondering, is it smarter to let the next 2 years flow by, see what comes out there, let the dust settle, and then find the opportunities? That might be more of my approach as opposed to being such an innovator, you know?
Yeah, I understand that. Like, it's so crazy what we are living right now. We are going from huge opportunity from 1 week to a bunch of startups have been killed 2 weeks later.
But you're like super involved in it, Tibo, with what you're doing now. So JR is suggesting let dust settle, come back to it in a few years.
There's one thing that I believe in, and I think GR and Lemon Squeezy are insanely benefiting from that, is that I only see the creators economy growing. Like, I only see people keep quitting their job or getting fired and start being solopreneurs, creators, indie makers. And I want to create products for them. I think Lemon Squeezy is perfectly positioned for that, and I'm trying to position my own products for those people. I want to help those people to sell more and create their own products. That's the only thing that drives me.
So, Tibo, from your own acquisition experiences to being the acquirer, how have you approached acquiring Typeframes and now Feather with your own experience of having your product acquired? Are you like having a chat with Lillian and Banu about like what could happen once they sell it with your own feelings, or are you just like, how are you going about an acquisition with your own experience?
In every single acquisition that I do, I do the opposite of what I've lived with Lempire, which is like the seller just do the 30 days transition and then it's over. Like, he can just do whatever he wants and move on, and that's it. And just like giving this freedom, I guess, is my way of not making them go through what I've lived with the Lempire, like having to stay 2 years in business.
Yeah, but what about their emptiness? Because they don't have the product anymore. What are they doing? What is Lillian and Barney doing after?
So in both cases, they were actually moving. They moved on to something else before selling. Like Banu wanted to sell for like 9 months because he has another very successful product like SiteGPT, and Lillian was giving up on Typeframe. And by the way, just if any one of your listeners want to acquire something one day, I think that's the best acquisition to ever do. Like, buy something where the founder has moved on from. It's going to be the acquisition where you can get the most out of your money. But because the founder is not doing anything with the product.
So how's it been since you took over Typeframes and forking it into Revid as well for a different market? Kind of what you did with Tweet Hunter and Taplio. Has it sort of been a success thus far for you?
Typeframe, I've acquired it for not crazy money. It was making less than 1K per month. It was not recurring revenue. Right now, it's making a little bit over 10K in monthly revenue, and it's recurring. So the acquisition is definitely profitable. Is it going to become 100K per month revenue projects? I'm not sure. I don't know. To be honest, like I was so impressed by the competition in the space. It's crazy the number of video-based projects that are going out right now. But I was not super confident 3 months ago, but I'm now. I'm like the products, the way we forked Typeframe to create Revid.ai and to make it super specific to viral short videos. I think it's perfectly positioned right now. It was not good before. It is perfectly positioned right now, and the feature sets is changing drastically.
Is that 10K including Revit as well, or is that separate?
It's same project. It's same code base, same subscription, same lemon squeezy accounts, same database, but hosted on 2 different servers with many splits in the code to handle things differently. So the cool thing is that it's 2 brands, so I can position the brand perfectly to one very specific position. When I release a feature, if it's well suited for Revit, so for like TikTok or YouTube Shorts, I will release it on Revit only, and I will not alienate Typeframe, which is more a generalist product video making.
JR, what do you make of this? Like having 2 products which are essentially the same and just rebranding them for different markets?
No, I think there's a lot of people that do this. I mean, even from the back, if I pull from my previous experience in the web hosting world, back when that was a thing, this was a super common strategy. The only thing I worry about with Tibo is he's, the amount of time he has to keep up with it. I think if he lets Typeframe, if I was him, I'd probably let Typeframes, sit out there and kind of see what it does and see if Revit takes off. You just got to take the signal, is what I'm saying. So if Revit takes off, you need to just probably start to focus a little bit and let the, just kind of, I don't know, let Typeframes do its thing, but you know what I mean? I just worry about the attention and the focus. Because at least from my personal experience, any time that I have made a conscious choice, not just to focus, but I think the stronger thing is the ability to say no is really hard. Like saying no to everything else so you can actually focus. That'd be the only thing that I would worry about is, would you get more out of Revit if you just went all in? If it was kind of showing you the signals. Let's say it is. I think you might be better off that way.
So I see it a little bit differently. Typeframe was doing good, but has a huge churn issue. And I understand why. Like, you are an entrepreneur, you are launching a product, you are using Typeframe to create a video about your product, and then you launch a product, and then you stop. Like, you stop using Typeframe. Your product is successful or not will not make you continue to use Typeframe because you have created the video about your product. And so the usage of the product is not recurring by default. And that's why I shifted to Revit.
I see. Have you explored it all? Like, I would imagine someone on TikTok or trying to create one of these, they're on their phone. Have you thought about an iPhone app instead and seeing how that works? Or
I want to do the opposite of that. because there are a lot of like mobile first apps designed to build TikTok videos. And people like us, we don't create on mobile app. So I want to target people like us, like I guess 30 plus years old, who wants to create on their laptop and wants to make something that's very good for them.
Got it.
This is interesting. I want to move on. We're talking about your time being split, Tibo, with Typeframes and Revit. But then you went and acquired another project for 250,000. Talk me through why you decided to acquire Feather.
Because, as I said, like I strongly believe that we're gonna have like 10 times to 100 times more creators and entrepreneurs in the next 2 years. And I think Feather is perfectly positioned for a very specific need that every single entrepreneur is having. Like, I want SEO traffic and I want a blog. It's pretty obvious. And Feather is just answering to this proposal. And so I think that I'm just getting started, but I want to cover a lot of the needs of what creators launching a business will have. Launching, like having, going to videos is one of them. Having a blog is another one of them. And I have a few others that I'm going to work on.
Here was me thinking Tibo would drop $250,000 or something without thinking through his master plan of why he would buy these things. Of course, you've got that makes complete sense. So, for those that don't know, Feather takes Notion pages and turns them into blogs, and they look really beautiful. But when you buy these products, Tibo, there is always a chance that something could go wrong. Especially a product that is built on someone else's product, a la Notion, and they might build said feature that product is enabling. And that very closely happened to you when Notion launched Notion Sites.
Yesterday.
You've just paid $250,000 for something, and then Notion just launched something similar. How does one deal with that? Have you wasted your money?
And so one nice story is that this announcement was yesterday, and 2 days ago, I got another proposition, pretty much in the same range, to buy another Notion-based product, which is much more hits by the new Notion release. So what surprised us is Notion getting into the website landing page space, and obviously it's getting directly against every landing page builder that are built on Notion. What's a little bit different for us with Feather is that Feather is a blogging tool, and it has much more features than Notion will ever have.
Yeah.
I wrote about this on Twitter, and Banu explained his thoughts about what's happening right now. He thinks that this might be actually an opportunity for us. It might attract a lot of attention on Notion, and that Notion can be used as a CMS to host all your content. And one thing that keeps me very, very positive about all this is that I think 90% of the customers of Feather are asking to host their blog on a subdirectory, meaning they don't want their blog to be blog.example.com.
Yeah.
They want example.com/blog. Mm-hmm. That's something that Notion will never support. And that's something that you can do with Feather. And I understand why.
There's a part of this that actually could help Tibo with all this. Notion's now educating people on websites with Notion. And does that open up the market more for him? I actually, there's this Beehive company that I know Tibo's been kind of poking fun at, because we had John O'Nolan on from Ghost the other week, and he was calling it Brohive. So I actually love that you're kind of poking at him, and I'm actually curious to how much you can share on what you have planned there, or if it's just more of a joke, or if it's just more fun for you, or if you're actually going to do something.
The thing is, I've started this because they are so serious about what they're saying. And they have a very good product. I'm using it. But the fact that they are doing this 2.5 price increase, like, it's just something is crazy to me. And so it triggered me and gave me the idea of transitioning Feather into a newsletter platform. And it's not something that I'm saying lightly, because I've acquired a new small product that I'm combining with Feather to bring this newsletter capability into Feather. Of course, it's going to be a very small product, bootstrapped, so I don't even know if it's going to compete for real with Beehive, but it's so fun to do exactly what you said, like to poke them a little bit and to see how they're going to react with them. I'm in such comfortable position as the very little guy competing with this kind of giant right now. Like I think they raised like more than 30 million. It's crazy.
Yeah, they recently raised 30 million. I will say that one of the things that's interesting to me about Tyler is he, similarly to what I was just saying about scratching your own itch, Tyler did do a lot of stuff at Morning Brew, and I feel like he does understand this very specific type of newsletter where it's more the growth hacks, and so it feels like their product is driven a lot by Tyler's experience trying to do those things, which I think is why they've been so successful. Is they've created something a little different than just blasting a newsletter. There's like a lot more to it, and it is interesting now because now they did the website builder with Typedream, and so yeah, that's what I was asking. I didn't know if you were just trying to just get involved with Tyler's tweets or if you were really building something.
Well, I'm building something. I hope that it's going to be live soon, like maybe next week. The thing is, as I started this, many people told me about how it's a shitty business to be in, like how newsletter, how sending email is hard, like deliverability issues, stuff like that. And so it's true that we have tech issues that are super hard to tackle, but I'm confident. Like I think we're gonna find a way.
Well, Tibo, it sounds like your master plan is all coming together. I'm excited to see how this develops over time. One final thing, you've got baby number 2 on the way very soon, and you're now buying these products and giving yourself so much more work. Are you going to take some time off, Tibo?
Yeah, I think that's why I'm working so much right now, because I know that in pretty much 2 weeks I will be like sleeping whenever I can. But yeah, I think the summer is going to be very quiet for me.
Cool, Tibo. Thank you so much for coming on this episode of Make Lemonade.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and love the conversation here.
Okay, all right.